The old woman's hands trembled as she held her boarding pass. Seat 14C. Middle row. Economy. She didn't know that in the next 2 hours, that seat would change everything. Her name was Eleanor Banks. 81 years old. A faded brown cardigan. Shoes that had walked through 40 years of hospital hallways. Back when she was a nurse nobody remembered now. She moved slowly down the aisle, gripping each seat back for balance. People glanced up, then looked away fast, the way you do when you don't want to be bothered. Row 14 came into view. A wealthy family sat there already. A man in a tailored navy suit. His wife in a white dress, diamonds catching the cabin light. Their son, maybe 10, dressed like a tiny businessman. Eleanor smiled at them. "I think I'm right here, by the window." The man didn't even look up. "There's been some confusion. We booked this whole row together. Our seats." "I have a ticket," Eleanor said softly, holding it out. His wife sighed, loud enough for the row behind to hear. "Can someone just move her? We've had a long week. We don't need this right now." Eleanor stood there a moment, the boarding pass shaking slightly in her fingers. Then she nodded, the way people do when they've learned not to argue. "It's all right. I'll find somewhere else." She turned and shuffled toward the back of the plane, alone, while the family rearranged their bags into the empty seat like nothing had happened. But something had happened, because the flight attendant standing 3 rows back saw the whole thing. And she remembered something. Something from 19 years ago that she had never told anyone on this aircraft. If you believe small moments like this still matter, if you believe kindness hasn't disappeared from this world, hit like right now and subscribe, because what happens next on this flight, you are not going to forget. Eleanor found a seat near the back, beside a tired-looking college student who barely noticed her. She closed her eyes and tried to disappear into herself, the way she'd had to do most of her life. She thought about being 22 years old, working nights in a maternity ward, holding the hands of mothers who were scared and alone. She thought about one particular night, a frightened teenage girl giving birth with no family in the room, and a young nurse named Eleanor who stayed 3 extra hours just so that girl wouldn't be alone. That girl had grown up. She had become a flight attendant. And right now, she was standing at the front of economy class, staring at row 14, replaying a memory she had carried for 19 years. Her name was Maria Chun, and she had never forgotten the nurse who held her hand through the worst night of her life. The nurse who told her, "You are not alone, and you are not anything less because of this." Maria had searched for that nurse over the years, sent letters, asked old hospitals. Nothing ever came of it. Until today, when an elderly woman boarded flight 1142 and Maria heard her voice for 3 seconds while she gave her seat away without complaint. That voice. She knew that voice. Maria walked to the back of the plane, knelt beside Eleanor, and whispered her name. Eleanor opened her eyes, confused. "You probably don't remember me," Maria said, her voice breaking. "But you saved my life 19 years ago. You held my hand when nobody else would." Eleanor's eyes filled with tears as fragments of memory returned. A scared young girl. A long night. A promise that she mattered. The biggest moment of this flight hasn't happened yet. "Stay with me." Maria stood, walked straight to the cockpit, and spoke quietly with the captain. Words were exchanged. The captain's expression changed. Minutes later, the intercom clicked on. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking. Before we begin our descent, I need a moment of your attention." The cabin went silent. 19 years ago, a nurse on the night shift saved a young mother and her newborn child during a difficult delivery. That mother grew up, and tonight she is serving you as a flight attendant on this very aircraft. Passengers turned, searching for understanding. That nurse is sitting in our economy cabin right now. Her name is Eleanor Banks. And earlier today, she was asked to give up her seat without complaint, without anger, the same quiet grace she showed 19 years ago in a hospital room. The wealthy family in row 14 went pale. "Eleanor, on behalf of this airline, we would like to upgrade you to first class for the remainder of this flight, and on every flight you take with us for the rest of your life." The cabin erupted in applause. Eleanor wept, overwhelmed, as Maria helped her stand and walked her slowly toward the front of the plane. As they passed row 14, the businessman lowered his eyes. His wife covered her mouth, ashamed. Their son watched Eleanor with quiet wonder, the kind of look that changes a child forever. Eleanor didn't say a word to them. She didn't need to. Her dignity had already said everything. Sometimes the people we overlook are the ones who shaped the world we live in. Sometimes one small act of patience returns to us when we least expect it, carried by someone who never forgot. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs reminding that kindness always finds its way home. And subscribe, because there are more stories like Eleanor's still waiting to be told.